And I hope you tune in. I read every chat. I try to. I do my best. So yeah, as you guys are going along, I'm excited. I'm so excited to do this, right? And I'll kick it off with this topic. I know it sounds so silly, it sounds a little off-putting, but should it be wrong to actually be able to argue and discuss peace as the strategy? Not only the strategy, but the method by which we attain peace is by utilizing peacefulness and peaceableness. A big part of that is understanding. And we've seen this Iranian conflict in the midst of many other very serious conflicts in the region. We've seen the Iran war become almost taken over. We've seen the Iran war almost take over the zeitgeist in the U.S., and I'm challenging that a little bit today. I want to challenge you as you tune in. Could we even possibly be more transparent about the Iranian war? Yes, we should always strive for this. Hey, Michael Stevens. Hey, great to see you. Hopefully, you're having a beautiful day. I'm talking about peace a little bit here, so hopefully, people will be able to tune in. And yeah, so there's been nine consecutive days in the present sense of U.S. strikes. These are air missions that are missile missions, whatever they are, which are coming out of the Middle East. They've impacted Saudi Arabia, many others. And so, yeah, you feel politicians these days get offended. Man, that's what I was just saying when I kicked the stream off. When I kicked the stream off, I was talking about, wow, should I be scared to actually talk about peace? Is that acceptable? Everyone says no. But if we're talking about something tangible, like in the Iranian conflict, should someone in the United States who considers themselves a patriotic American be afraid or be off-put by the possibility that we could be right, that peace could be the right thing? Hey, what's going on, Allah? Mine, good to see you again. Shiitake mushrooms. Hey, yeah, great to see you. Thanks again for a huge super chat last stream. I appreciate it. Got the MJ back there. Yeah, we got a little mic. That's from the flu game. I got 2 pairs of Jordans that I've just had sitting around. I figured I'd make the studio like that. Yeah, I don't know. It's cooler than I am. So the background should overshadow my coolness. Give peas a chance. Heck yeah. Heck yeah. Trump and Putin suck, someone says. Oh my gosh, the money they're going to make, right? How do you profiteer off peace? How do peaceful people profiteer? We just don't, right? We sit and dwell around the bottom of society and get fed up and sick of it. And then at some point, it's time to bridge that gap. At some point, it's time to bridge the question about, well, how many other people are sick of being afraid about talking about peace? They're sick of being afraid about taking on big political issues. Man, the old punk rock movement, guys, you guys know the British. They kicked this thing off with the new wave punk. They had everything going on. And what did we talk about? Wow, I need to be sedated to get through this. I don't just need to be sedated, but to even start getting a grasp of what this punk rock, these new hippie movements, I can't believe you. I can't believe it, is what we wanted to say. The old school punk movement said, you even have to be in New York City. Do you guys get that? You guys have to be in the underground of London. You guys have to even start getting what this punk rock thing is. Yeah, you're going to go bang around on a guitar in your garage, but you're not going to get out from under, all the pressures of mainstream media, mainstream music. there's a manifestation of Hegseth's toxic masculinity. Yeah, and it's great to understand how. Hey, Random Mozzie, great to see you. Welcome to the stream, everyone. It's great to recognize when there's constraints on leaders in Washington, and this is what I push for you. We're going to see people tune out, but this is what I mean. Should I be afraid to talk about peace? Yeah, tune out when we get into the hard topic. No offense, but here we are, right? Give me a break when we're talking about things like gender policy in the military. I wasn't born yesterday. I was born long enough ago that I know what that means. That means that you want to be disclusive and you want to play into people's basis level fears. I just posted a short on my opinion about the Oman negotiations, but I think the pieces parts, we have to get transparent about these pieces parts. Hey, what's up? Trump has a diaper on. Hey, great to see you. Welcome back to the stream. You guys, before this sets off a hotbed or whatever, everybody's welcome here as they are, right? Everybody's welcome here as they are. We've got TOS, and so we do that on my side, right? You guys understand that. But I posted this short that's talking about, and I know I'm mouth breathing. Who's this mouth breather? I'm a loser on the internet. I'm so sick of being a loser. I'm a loser obsessed with peace. I'm so sick of being a loser. I'm happy down here. Leave me be. Come on, guys. There's people that will freak out 10 times harder than me, but is that wrong? Should I be the one? Maybe, guys, I should be the one. I need all of it, right? What a breath of fresh air, finally. But yeah, when we recognize something like the Strait of Hormuz, which is now the center of Trump's regime change, he pinned that on the wall. Denuclearization, he pinned it on the wall. He wants to give Saudi Arabia nuclear weapons next. What else did Donald Trump pin on the wall? Get all your very dangerous robot droids out of here. Pinned it on the wall once again. Get it all out of here. And in Oman and in Iran, two nations, coastal nations, lots of coastal nations in the Middle East. We'll get to that in a second. Hey, Chris. Yeah, this is pretty lame, right? It's how the story ends, actually. In Iran and Oman, you have jurisdiction, right? So the big proposal to alleviate pressure from above is now saying, well, you're going to have to register some ships with Iran. You're going to have to register your trip. Cool. And with Oman, they're going to run their free shipping. They're going to declare it again, say, hey, this is the accord. This is what we do. You just can zip on by. And with the other side, you're going to zip on by, but you might have to just tell them, hey, this is the ship. Give them the information they're asking for and all this stuff. Were you talking about British rock? Oh, yeah. I was talking about the punk movement. I was talking about punk, new wave, and how it was so high culture, but it was also high culture with a point. The way it kind of exploded and changed music. How could it not be? Weird sense that being disclusive, I think, is anti-punk. If you try to write a disclusive punk song, you don't sound good anymore, like that weird hate niche. But when you don't do that, the majority of that kind of music, whoever it's supposed to be, in the US, we had the remote up. So, I want to be sedated. I got to be sedated. Wow, what a topic. Yeah. We're going to open frickin' the straits. Here's exploitation. Here's tax dollars actually work. This is where your tax dollars are going. I'm going to use Britain as an example. So Britain has a military base in Cyprus. Cyprus, which is this, again, an island coastal nation. It's a little further west compared to Iran and Saudi Arabia, the rest of the Middle East. It's a little more west, a little more isolated. But this is Britain's primary air base. Where else are they? Well, Britain shares spaces. They share naval bases and they share air stations. So places you can keep planes, land planes, launch planes, all this kind of stuff in many nations, including, I believe, UAE, Oman, Jordan. There's many more. And so what do you think actually happens? To the poll question, can we possibly be more transparent? Yeah, we should strive for it. Yeah, 80%, 8 out of 10 so far. That tells me something. We're sick of our tax dollars going to these wasteful wars, but we mean it. We really mean it. whoever it is, somebody's supposed to mean this. And so 80% say we should always strive for the war to be televised. But what can be televised if there is a war? This isn't forgiving Donald Trump. This is saying that if there was actually a war, we would have seen more involvement. It wouldn't have just been loosening the strings on Saudi Arabia, but it would be talking about, well, you guys have been wasting billions of dollars here for so long. And so what road are you going down? You're going down the road that you wish would work. It's more money in your pocket, more money for billionaires. It's more money to these aircraft manufacturers, these missile manufacturers. You could call them merchants of death if you wanted to. You would not be wrong. You would be accurate. And this is insane to me. The part that's insane is, we see so clearly this one-way road. So you got to ask, what loads that up? Fair question. I'd hope. Should I feel like I need to be sedated to talk about peace? Should I feel fearful for talking about peace in front of people? I don't want to, and I don't think I should. Not today, at least. Not today. And so this is just one thing we do on the Ducks Y channel, is we try to tell the truth. We try to tell the truth about these things. And right now we're thinking about the one-way road to military spending, the one-way road that we've taken in Iran, where Donald Trump promised a war of retribution. What's up, CEO of My Time? Great to see you. Great to see you. And so, so we get to this point where it's actually fairly interesting. How do we actually raise money for war and taxes? And we see every state, every region has to pay for security in some sense. In some sense, it is counting with your nickel, it's counting your nickels with your fingers and toes. You can't say what I want. You can say it was a free country. Yeah, Joe Mack, I'm very grateful. The U.S. is a free country. We've got amazing free speech here. Amazing. I think World War III will break out. The war between Ukraine and Russia will become increasingly violent. Ammunition depots and secret troop locations are being built in Cyprus, and the same is happening in Greece. Wow. And the same is happening in Greece. Wow. Yeah. When we say that the Western military, including the U.S., is built to be mobilized quickly where we operate, including those places in the Middle East, it becomes incredibly scary and frightening when we see that there are conflicts that are pushing into these processes, and we know those conflicts are too weak to change the equation. It doesn't look like there's outgoing help, and so it means that you become the game of these politicians that aren't willing to tell the truth, aren't willing to insist and ask for the truth. They're not willing to insist and ask for a little bit of peace, a little bit of understanding, a little bit of not buying into these processes that are driving from the same undercurrent, these one-way freeways, these one-way highways. What do you guys think? That's all I had really prepared, for today's Oman, Jordan, the British presence, how it works, U.S. presence, these things that focus on both real conflict drivers. There is a reason that Britain operates their own bases in Cyprus. That's expensive. Nobody wants that. It's expensive. Nobody wants to pay for it. It's expensive. It's not part of your national identity, your national character. It's expensive. It doesn't talk about causation. It just ends up there. It's expensive. It doesn't cause anything itself. It is not its own cause. Its causes are what it is there for. It's expensive. Nobody wants it. And yet we still see these massive systems operating. The biggest threat is not real, is USA. It's not Iran. To be kicked out of the... Stop protecting goofy Gulf states. Iran needs to beat the USA with the ground war. We need to avoid a ground war. Iran is a very populous nation. We saw the devastating effects of urban combat. For people that are advocating for war versus peace or trying to search for peace, just a very important thing is that when you have Muscat in Oman, I think I'm saying that right. I'm probably saying it wrong, and we have Tehran's politics, just like we have Washington's politics. We're saying that some of these issues, like the Strait of Hormuz, are not about presidents. They're not about culture. They're not about identity. Some of these wars what it boils down to is it's about the economics that flows from the capital city elsewhere. It's about the economics that the law, enforcing the law if you want something big, that's what these conflicts can be about. And saying that these are tools that we use instead to turn the tables, to change the equation, that it's an absolute sense of competition, well, justify it, change what's in the world, change how that it is the case. It isn't the case that Iran has an infinite bargaining chip in the Strait of Hormuz, or they would have escalated quickly already. If Iran thought they were too important and this war was going to be too costly, they would have escalated already. We would have seen more. I don't harbor any, this is from Joe, any hard feelings towards the people of Iran. The United States was wrong in doing what it did. Iran is no army. Trump 2029. Yeah, we're getting our years off. Dave Portnoy wannabe. Please know, I like my small channel how it is. I like you guys. Yeah, lots of love to everybody in the chat. I tried to do my best, try to knuckle through a little bit and try to bring some quality content, right? That's the hard part, is trying to get something together and being able to go live for you guys, for myself as well. Terry, yeah, why is the strait closed? Genius. Hey, what's up, Tomato? Ever stick an ant down my ooh-ha? I don't know what that means, and yeah, I don't think I have ever. Yeah. Enemy, so you're happy or sad about the war? Trump is the evil. Yeah, and so, you know, should we celebrate the bad stuff in the conflict? Well, if you talk about what's actually contained in these smaller drivers, it again boils up to geopolitical regional presence. And you can break that down a lot of different ways, but you don't escape that, well, what you're going to be allowed to do is very rarely, if ever, connected to just what exists in the world outside of power structures, And so all the eggs in the basket of more competent leadership in the United States, all the eggs in the basket that no leader on planet Earth has the power to stop initiative, has the power to stop motivation. You know, this is why we need better leaders in Washington. We need more honest leaders. We need diversity. We need women. We need people of color in the US. And we need like-minded leaders around the world to recognize that we, the people, have the power. That's true in every corner of every planet of Earth. If you don't like the system, well, you're talking about revolution a little bit. And guess what? You're allowed to. You're allowed to. The strait is still closed. Yeah. You know, we're seeing time, and let's just, we're not trying to freak anyone out. I didn't check this today. I bet it's over $80 still. Way over. $96, depending on the US standard, $85 to $98 a barrel. So what's the money do? Well, the money creates more money problems. Money problems don't solve anything. There's always someone that's going to solve money problems. Welcome to your free market. Do wars really have tangible reasons? Hey, what's going on, Marilyn? I don't know if wars have tangible reasons to them. There's, you know, it's very strange when we see absolute leaders giving absolute definitions of why they're going to war, or they're so sufficiently vague that they don't like the balance of the structure or the order or something like this. And yeah, you know, I think there's a possibility of being dominated there. There's a possibility there. So Space agreed. Pizza pockets solve everything. I don't know what that means. I don't know what a pizza pocket is. They have some cheap drones that attack ships. Nothing important. The strait is open. Yeah. I mean, I think we can think about avoiding ecological disasters, even ecological damage, and also bringing highlight to ecological risks. So I do think it's serious when ships are attacked. I do think it's serious, but here's one problem is I don't think this president would be honest, transparent, and bold enough to learn about some of the risks that we're facing as a civilization, as people, when it becomes fair game to think of oil tankers as targets. You think of oil wells, you think of all this stuff, infrastructure as targets, this stuff that costs money, this stuff that works for people today. And you say, well, this is a cold conflict, right? This is why Oman is involved in the first place. Oman on the map in the Middle East controls the southern parts of the shipping lanes. I believe northern parts point to Iran, I believe. And so we see mediation, but what is mediation for? What is mediation for then? We're saying that there's one winner. F America says noob noob. Hey, what's going on, Sion Moriarty? Great to see you. Cyan. Sorry if I'm saying that wrong. We've got Iran has space lasers. Oh my gosh, Ryan Hoffman, please point them away from me. Point them away from me. Place bets, $100 on Iran. Yeah, if you guys want to send any super chats, small super chats help me enormously. Gets your message up on screen. You guys can speak alongside me, basically. Gem gifts, all that kind of stuff. All that kind of stuff is very useful. Trump 2028, let's make it happen. Yeah. Oh my gosh, thank you so much. We got a star in the chat. Thanks for hyping the stream. Appreciate you. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Iran's to F. What? It's Sean. Oh, Sean Moriarty. Sorry. I was way off. Yeah. Zoinks. I was way off on that one. Yeah, when we talk about amendments in law, the other issue that I've been taught that someone asked about was the SAVE Act, which is forcing ID. It's more basically it's restrictions on voting, however they wish to accomplish it. And I just don't understand how limiting voting protects us from the danger of politicians. The danger of politicians, as well as the way we work effectively together, knowing that someone was elected in a system that was representative of the constituency. Man, you guys want to just go out in the city and see what it is, see how it is, be a part of that. Be a part of the people that are down at the bottom still talking about peace. Be a person that's down at the bottom still talking about peace. Can't wait for Persia to be turned to glass. Wow, I think that's a little bit too off on the hateful side, right? Iran's a big nation. We'll wait. We'll say Persia and Iran has 100 million plus people. So you got to wonder how that works. It isn't ice skating or figure skating necessarily. How do you explain? Yeah. Terry, I would hope that you put that same critical thought towards things politicians say, whether they're Democrats or Republican. Republican people that ran under the Make America Great Again banner and the message, talking about beef tallow. How is this honesty? Someone's getting lots of messages blocked. I think it's just, it's a handful of people. I can read some of those, but I don't read them on stream. And yeah, just be mindful of TOS. Yeah, focusing on diversity is huge, right? When we can focus on diversity of thought, diversity of practice, urge people to pursue understanding in the present context, urge people to follow along, urge people to commit to not being part of the same mistakes twice. Small things, right? We should ask, when you ask what your country asks of you, at some point, responsibility, common sense are some virtues that come from following along without like a strong moral decided compass towards just what we thought coming into it. If peace is the process, peace is also the end point. Peace is the method of negotiation. Peace is how you get there. How are we seeing that? Are we losing it? Are we too low on the totem pole? Is that a possible world? If I grant you that, if I were to grant Terry or anyone else in chat, Trump needs to stop being a puppet of Israel. The national character of Israel has been to support Western expansion within the Middle East, Western presence, we would say. And so in some sense, I think it maximizes some of the security dilemmas the West participates in and views, but it also highlights, while there have been limits, there's been severe geopolitical competition alongside limits within the Middle Eastern region. This is another facet. If you just follow how close the Middle East is to other areas, you can go down and you can see, what is it called? The Gulf of Aden. What is it? The Arab Sea. I can look up. Yeah, there's a lot. If you trace it, you can trace it all the way to, yeah, the Arabian Sea, and then you've got the Gulf of Aden. You've got, yeah, the Persian Gulf with the Strait of Hormuz, the Red Sea, the Mediterranean Sea, all the CC regions, right? But you can go down and you can see this region is connected to the global south as it's like hyper defined, where you're impacted by climate change. You don't have strong bases in liberal economies, or as strong. For example, what is it called? The African Union is still, it's large, but it's limited in scope compared to just ambitions that even companies like Google or Amazon have. It's not just weapons. This is Allah says, it's not just weapons of missile wars. In Spain, a state of emergency is being declared because of forest fires. Yeah, another one of these things where, we should, I think honestly, being able to mark some of this stuff down, and not being a one-man army about it, realizing that peace is a process that a lot of people take refuge in, and peace is a process. We see 800, I don't know about the Spanish forest fire situation. A few days ago, there were 800 forest fires independently burning in Canada. What a tragedy. What a tragedy to think about an ecology just totally destroyed. The UK is finished. They didn't help us open the strait. They are traitors. Yeah, it's a big bar to get the UK to put future pressures on their presence and to respond to non-threats and really non-severe threats, you would say, or the severity is limited or capped for some reason, right? Put a cap on it. The severity is capped. Yeah, that's it. It's never stopped, says Noob. Yeah, and so I wouldn't view the UK as weakening their relationship. Who holds the strings of governments? It's the people. It's always the people in one way or another. That's what a peaceful person would say, is they would say at the end of the day, this is held by the people. It is the people. The will of the people is what governs every government, whether you like it or not. And you can take that to mean, again, the severity of autocracy, the severity of nanny states, the severity of corporal and punitive punishments, or you can take it to mean the severity of liberal economies, the severity of giving everyone equal speech, the severity of giving everyone equal right to vote, something that even people in the United States in the MAGA side of things have said, well, ban them. These are violent leftist extremists. I haven't seen that person. Not really. I don't know who that person is that cares about forest fires and cares about something else, but to control immigration is to stop making war, manipulating other country economies, and stop making does. We should get Iran's lithium and gold mines. Yeah, the resources are going to come and go. And if people want to solve a short-term problem by being a pirate, they should be ambitious and bold enough to talk about their own circumstance and how that relates to their political belief. I try to watch my head. I know sometimes I get too high up, too esoteric, too generic, too just not here, right? No. I gotta be sedated to talk about peace. What about you guys? We're not afraid of putting boots on the ground. We're also not cowards. GG, says Noob. We all grew up. Yeah. Boots on the ground, just like Afghanistan, only with an actual army. Yeah. Yeah. Well, Terry, I think people can be patriotic and remain supportive of the work that's gotten done, but also imagine the work that's gotten undone when there's been 9 days of bombing campaigns from the United States that Donald Trump promised as retribution. I think so. I think we can be a little reserved and scared about that. A nuke would be tragic. Iran's army is gone. It will be easy. Why can't we just take care of the IRC? I don't know. Easy, okay, buddy, go ahead. Okay. I think you should stop being a puppet. Yeah. Yeah, we should allow the president to be the president, support him in the office and the missions that he has, right? No one would say don't follow lawful orders. No one would say this undermines the executive branch or structure of government altogether. People shouldn't be saying that, right? He's the president, but someone can support the president or do so rationally, reasonably, or irrationally and unreasonably, and they can also, kind of make an exit and say, yeah, well, these are the issues I don't morally agree with, and here's the severity. Hey, thanks, Greya. I appreciate the kind words. Yeah, out with it. Out with it. Will out. What am I talking about? Man, I don't know. There are people hate the IRGC. We're not fighting the Iranian people, someone says. Yeah, Donald Trump's promised infrastructure strike, so that turns out to be a lie, saying that this isn't a form of pressure that ultimately exerts more pressure on who? I don't know. You got to ask. You got to ask. Got to get an answer. I wonder. Boy, I wonder. What are you spending the money on at the end of the day? That's one thing someone in the US can ask. What are you spending the freaking money on? Secondly, this person can ask why. Why? And just stop there, right? The wealthier folks in the audience, you know this. You've got something else you want to talk about. Why are you spending all the money there? What? Why? How? Wow, why? In this climate, what should people do if they want marriage in-house, ducks? I don't know. I believe in marriage as it sits with the state. So, yeah. I don't have a differing opinion. There's lots of different legal and non-legal structures people can use to formalize a relationship. Yeah. And also for thousands of years, monogamy has just been the sort of structure of a relationship. And for many, I would say for probably most people, I don't know the statistic, but for most people, that's just what they want to find in the first place. Someone else that believes in monogamy. And you get to a point where monogamous people say it's going to be monogamous. That's one form of a relationship. Then there's obviously marriage structures that I think should accommodate human rights issues. Human Rights Campaign is a great organization. They do work nationally and I believe internationally as well. We can look this up. So if you guys haven't heard of HRC, very simple website, guys. This isn't that fancy. It's the nation's largest civil rights organization for LGBTQIA equality. And so if somebody asks about marriage, I will just drop the HRBC link. There are many causes about environmental change, about equal rights, about racialization of speech, all kinds of things. You guys can give money to me. I need it. Your favorite streamers might need some. If you guys don't donate there, you guys can also consider in the future even small donations to these organizations. So I'll mention that. We need some people or all from the Epstein. They're trying to distract us from the real monster. Yeah, let's do the investigation. When we have someone, they say loose lips sink ships. Hey, Donnie's in the house. Hey, thanks so much for the hundos. I appreciate it. Times two. Thank you. Thank you so much. Hype the stream, folks. Thank you. Well, yeah, with the Epstein files, loose lips sink ships, and there was a big network. People knew what was going on with the party. They knew a lot. They knew enough. Thanks so much, Noob, for the combo there. That's very appreciated. Very appreciated. Whoops. Do you guys hopefully you still have audio? I had to mute real quick. Is this governments don't do anything openly to the public. They psychologically redirect what they want to hide in other directions. They act as if nothing is happening while children are dying every day. Wow. And suddenly, my real name is Nate. I go by DuxY online. "99% of their missiles and drones have gone. They have no army. The war is done. We just need to finish the job." We just need to finish the job. News channels report on a person who passed in an accident for weeks. Wow. Wow. Yeah, we're talking a little bit about the Iranian conflict, other conflicts. Someone mentioned the Epstein files. And so if you know those case files are actually about each email is about a network of people that may have been involved or known about an event or had previous and past relationships, you just think that, well, you could turn this into a bottomless hole, but you could also wonder kind of how this thing formed in the first place, what it actually meant, what was going on, what was the end goal, what was actually accomplished or achieved, the economic sort of worth of this thing that was going on, and who was exploited, right? Who had illegality aimed at them, focused on them, pointed to them. You know, these are all questions and ways that law enforcement ought to work. So yeah, no freedoms, no freedoms. There's no freedom in Iran. There's got to be what someone thinks of as personal autonomy and sovereignty. I'm sure that's overshadowed and eliminated or altogether defeated in a political sense, though. Right? That seems like that would be a survival mechanism, maybe justifying violence that goes out against one cohort towards another. That's crazy stuff. It's wild. DOW is a chart. I haven't seen it there. No, there isn't. I haven't seen DOW. Yeah, Trump's making us look unstable and bad around the world. Yeah, it does make us. It points towards a transitionary period. I think someone at the Trump administration might argue points towards this transitionary period that itself is broken and unstable, but it's supporting and it's actually falls and goes down through and discusses things that may be possible. Now, the reality is, who knows? That's probably going to work how you think it is, but it's also going to have many, many costs and externalities to it. Why did a democracy settle on this? Well, it didn't. It just elected an executive. So we're seeing the consequences of these executive plans and functions, in my opinion, coming from Donald Trump. I'd rather have had Kamala. I'd rather have Joe Biden, who knew how to say something was finished, knew how to say something wasn't an issue, knew how to signal and voice when those things weren't moving forward, and to also manage the nation state, right? Your job is to administer that budget, handle foreign affairs. Cool. That's all you have to do. That's all you have to do. It's a lot of pressure. It's the presidency, though. Who knows? Joe Biden was the biggest embarrassment to America we could ever have. Wow. Someone talking about fear coming from Trump, and then Joe Biden is an embarrassment. So, yeah, I think the experience of America first and the experience of seeing lack of values represented, seeing values falling away, conservative values falling away, also seeing lack of values being represented at all, not building, also falling away. These are two reasons I think people can be upset or frustrated at politics, or for me, that's what embarrassment is more like, is being frustrated. And yeah, that's my own problem to, maybe that's why I'm scared to talk about peace. Maybe that's why I'm scared to talk about who I really am, how I really think about things. I don't want to. I don't want to, right? I don't want to play victim. I don't want to be a victim, but I'm scared to talk about peace. I'm scared to talk about big ideas, about vision. I'm scared to talk about all this stuff. I'm scared to be involved anymore. Helping Israel is biblical duty. Trump is driving now, not Biden. Correct. Right? Correct. Yeah. Hey, what's up, Big Show? Yeah, it's right. I am on YouTube Live. I'm just checking some of these comments that got these ones got a little but yeah, I think they are using an abundance of racialized and otherized language. Guys, please mind TOS. I don't want to start timeouts. I don't want to start blocks again, but we will. I will if I see it. So guys, the Bible is, can you not use that G word? Thank you. You know that's a hot button word that's picked up deeply racial connotations. You know, the G word, Defense League. It's not a bad word, but come on. Yeah, man, check me in, right? If there's Soros money, you guys got $1, $2, $5 super chats, $3, $4, being a little generous, charitable. Me, your favorite streamers, charities. We posted HRC. I don't want to run for office. I'm too scared of people, right? We lost that. We should support leaders, but I'm scared. I'm too scared. I don't think people support leaders. It's fear. It's authentic fear. Hey, Mohammed, great to see you. Assalamu alaikum. Salam alaikum. Sorry, however I said it. My bad. Americans are stoned. George Soros is a N-word. So should we keep giving Israel? So Israel is one of those anchors that allows the U.S. and Western forces to be mobilized. But again, Israel's military is a contentious issue when they can easily project power in a very loud, obvious sense. This is maybe one of the logics, the irrational or absurdist logics from Hamas and Al-Qassam planning the attacks on the neighborhoods, 46 neighborhoods. What was it? Over 40 neighborhoods, 27. It was a lot. More than a dozen. So very large coordinated attack that had fallback positions. It had all the markers of intending to start a war, and they knew that. It's what it did. It was targeting civilians. But this is also about Israel's military. If Israel has to project power, then it will become increasingly unpopular to see a strong Western ally, perhaps. And then also seeing, this nonchalantness of U.S. British presence, nonchalant. Anyone would have admitted that's what it was prior to this president. But so is that warlike? Well, it's hoping you don't have to use those resources. At least I think it's a better starting point. Just saying, hey, this is what's going on. Is if we look at the momentum, the global momentum, and we also look at progress that's been made, right? These are not all one thing things, and there may be only two things. It's that nations that are not friendly to the United States, where we have huge issues with that are not going to be solved in the next decade, like Iran, have also made efforts and strove to keep their own defense spending down. And they have the same political pressures and struggles with defense spending as any other country. So we can say, hey, this is a leverage point, or it's a point of diplomacy. It's a leverage point, and the point of the diplomacy is, again, to clear the plate of things that don't solve long-term problems. They're not really political, right? They're squabbles. How is that political if you say, well, I'm unhappy with the Israel on either side? Either side, guys. I love you guys, the leftists in my audience. I love you guys, right-wingers, the righties. I love you guys, right? But come on, if we're unhappy with how the U.S. is supporting Israel for different reasons, and we can just say, well, I just took a snapshot picture of that's like. How is that political? That's just saying you don't like a budget. It doesn't say anything about your ideology or your stance in the world. You guys have to fill that in, or you cannot. You guys can skip filling that in and talk about politics in a different way. Hey, My Music, great to see you. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for tuning in. Thanks for the support. Thanks for modding. Trump supporters are uninformed. I think Trump supporters are very well informed about their values and who they care about their values for. They're very social, I think, very apt, giving, generous, charitable group. However, I think all those things have ultimately, from what I've seen, my impression of the MAGA movement is they have very strong borders, fence lines, boundaries, things like that. So it's evident why people don't like what Israel is doing. Paid podcaster. I wish. If you guys want to send super chats, I appreciate everything. I've made 14 cents so far. We've been live for 45 minutes. And yeah, appreciate super. Not necessary. It's kind of fun. If you haven't donated, you guys can click the money link. Easy to add a Google Pay source or whatever it is, and help a brother out. Yeah, with one tap pay. Thank you. Epstein client list 0. Hey, thanks for the hundo. We got hundos. Thanks for the stream hype. Hype the stream, folks. Double tap the liking's free. Subscribe is free. I just released some new shorts today. Easy to digest about some of the politics topics I'll riff on, I'll talk about here. Way for you guys to waste a little bit of time. Hopefully not that aggressive environment, but also being, a little forward moving. I want to add that value in how I can. Why are we stealing Venezuela's oil in their time of dire? I think we can afford to buy Venezuela's oil. This administration is acting like pirates. Hey, thanks, Mr. Mondre. Yeah, with Venezuela, Venezuela, we can say, probably has a lot of the same culture that came from these leftist movements, and it quickly rose up to like statism and things like this. And so it's interesting to wonder, I think, on seeing it on both sides, what's actually happening is pressuring that statist government by a larger economic force coming from above. So it's like a bullying play. The same thing pirates want to do in some sense is when you swoop around something and create that sort of structure, who knows, maybe just saying it is what it is. And yeah, the long-term stability of the energy trade, as well as pathways to reducing reliance on fossil fuels. These are also economic forces. And so saying we're too lazy to go find those, in some sense, these things that are beyond or further or future out, saying that we're too lazy to go find the actual drivers of why this works. We're too lazy as the United States to find the drivers of why this works and continue the mission, continue the strategy, continue the plan. And at the same time, you say, people's values, things like peace, become increasingly hard to find. There's peaks and valleys, right? Ain't no mountain high enough, ain't no valley low enough, to keep us apart, to keep us from actually fighting in this sense. The entire government is protecting. There's a difference between the Israeli people and the Zionists. Send Barron to the front lines. DNA test, cool. Pirate flag, hey, pretty high. Send Barron, yeah. I would try not to mention the president's son, wife, family, those types of things. And yeah, Trump is can we kind of tone down some of, this is obviously a free speech channel, we want to be able to talk about the issues in a peaceable way. No, oil price is based on dollars. Why are we striking Iran and pulling resources back after stock market close before market open? Want your opinion? Yeah. Well, with the price of oil so high, we can say that mediation might be leveraged. So that's one possible explanation, is that because energy prices are so high and because tensions on both sides are leading towards maybe a superior fighting force, the logic of the Trump administration may be, this is just it's not a strategic, but it's a tactical time to keep pressure on and to be more open to targets. I think the fault of this logic is you assume something that wins also captures the core root of the conflict in large nations that affects many states while many people are watching. How would you feel if you saw someone stealing second to third base and they didn't even try? You would say somebody's betting on the game. It's corrupt. This is a corrupt game. You can't steal third base. You can't steal third base in baseball. You can barely steal second base most of the time. So if you can barely steal that base and yet you're doing it, what's happening? Well, people would say that this is not absolute war. This is unhinged conflict. It doesn't follow any structure. And it's not realist. It's not really realist. It's not really neo-realist in reflecting regional, it's just the borders. What the United States is has gotten larger. So we steal the oil, steal Iran's oil, steal Venezuela's oil, right? The boundary is bigger. The boundary of the United States, it's always been bigger. The US said that they didn't want big armadas off the coast, that we built a big, strong navy before we built a lot. We can say that World War I and World War II were big experiments in the United States that the US learned from. And so you wonder where, with the military force and the economy, where the US wanted trade early on. It was one of the first things we wanted in the 19th century. And we wanted trade after the Second World War. It was one of the primary tools of diplomacy was fair, equilibrated trade. Finding an equilibrium in trade. And these things maybe lost their staying power because of technology, because of energy, because of the climate crisis, and because of disease, because of critical theories that are approaching problems that other theories don't solve, because of nationalism. These are all great explanations, actually, quality explanations why we're going to war in Iran. It's all of these things. I'm just throwing a lot out there. Digital prisons, Skynet data centers. Yeah. The US can have its oil trade in the US and the US wins. Flat Earth, the sun, or our climate? Yeah, the sun is just an awesome, energetic force at all times, right? Appreciating the sun. Yeah. I don't know, guys. Greed, that's a great explanation. We can talk about greed without having to be fearful, without having to be fearful of talking about peace, without having to be frustrated because we're just talking about peace. So if I roll this all back and wonder about the conflict in these forces, guys, even the ones of you that disagree, looking at the poll results, I asked and you answered, 67 people answered so far. Could we even possibly be more transparent about the Iranian war? 55% say yes, and we should always strive for it. 22% said it's not possible. POTUS gets the W, right? It's not possible. It's more informed. And then 22% say even about what? Fair what? So is there some other description or interpretation of doing it to it, do it? Hey, David Bagley, man, people are fearful, right? I'm talking about a political topic in front of people, with friends, with people who dissent, they disagree. It's scary. I think it's so scary to put myself out there, to put my opinions out there. I'm always afraid of, that social, the bounce back, the punishment, all that kind of stuff. Lee Kareem says, anybody know where we are yet on the Golden Dome project? Is it finished yet? God's perfect plan, says David Bagley. Why be afraid? Yep. Yeah, that if it's a plan that shifts around, though, let's say I'm an atheist or a Buddhist and I want to just talk about coming from peace and where I would fit in God's plan, theoretically, if I admit this, or where I fit in whatever plan is happening on Earth. In God's plan, the context of peace is that there's people that carry that today without knowing it, right? So it's exploitation. It's exploiting people in order to carry an idea. It's exploiting people to carry an idea. And boy, when we think of the victims because of this is the case, that's a whole other bag of tricks. That's a whole new bag of tricks to open up. And so that's something I'd wish to learn by talking about politics on the internet. And I'd wish to avoid the other side of it, the fear, punishment, right? Being told to take my meds, right? I have to sing the Ramones, da 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 da. Duck wants to be sedated. I have to talk about my ego. I have to talk from myself. Don't be afraid of ghosts. Yeah. Be of peace and just of peace. Be of peace and just of peace. Be of my wrongdoings. Be all my prior wrongs. And then am I still of peace? Am I still a person of peace in that case? Am I still my ego in that case? Am I still a version of myself I can afford to be? Hey, Skylar's Fantasy, great to see you. Platitudes are GAY. Yeah. Why be afraid of anything? Funny how whatever happens is God's plan. Convenient almost. Yeah. Aloha from Osaka, Japan. What up to Japan? What up, what up, what up? It's not smart to be too transparent in the middle of a war, conflict, to let your enemy know what your next move is. Common sense. Yeah. Love your enemy as thyself. Love thy enemy as thyself. Part of that is being transparent and honest. Common sense is the opposite. The counterfactual is if you love your enemy as you love yourself, you're honest about it and transparent. And so if you truncate this and you say, well, this conflict is about something very simple and you just have to commit to the solution, you're not being transparent about everything you actually do and everything that you actually change. So you're not actually loving your enemy as you love thyself. Right? So I would argue that this is not, and there's no way to justify this in a common sense or logical manner. It's an irrational war from the perspective of Christianity. And as a Buddhist atheist, it's just a war. It's a war. It's a decision to not operate based on peace in the first place. And I think someone like Pete Hegseth leading the Department of Defense would actually benefit greatly, right? If I had a political decree, I was the Leviathan of the earth or something, they said, who's this wise old man? I get picked off the streets, right? Paid political stream. I would say, yeah, one of these defense secretaries, one of these has got to be one of these guys, right? They got to be counting on their fingers and toes. They got to know some of the math stuff. They don't have to be super genius or anything. But, when we're talking about getting better at knowing where things are at and knowing where things get in the way of a peace process, peace as the process, the outcome is peace. We got to have people on their fingers and toes saying, love thy enemy as you love thyself, right? Those that are without sin, if you're a Christian, cast the first stone. If you're an atheist, don't judge. Understand and don't judge, right? Find love within yourself, find love out in the world, find things that are pro-social. If that's what we mean by this, a Buddhist atheist may say, yeah, we talk about this commonly as finding love in our society and our relationship, and you can't leave anyone out of that. You can't leave out the homeless, you can't leave out people some of us may have accused and called being drug addicts. You can't leave criminals out. You can't leave, anyone that's underserved by society out. When we say love thy enemy as we love thyself, we don't have to be super Christian. We can be. You can also be a Buddhist atheist and say these things the same exact way and make it better, right? You talk about the outcome. You talk about the truth in the process. The entire government is serving the world. Pizza Freemason. Yeah, Masonry, I think it's an accomplishment. I don't know that Masons do anything special. I read there's very low in conspiracy theory. Hey Mark, the only thing you should ever be afraid of is yourself, because you never know what's capable until you do it. So don't fear anything but thy own self, but your own self. Yeah. Yeah, it's exhausting, It's exhausting to have a self sometimes, but it's also optimistic, right? It's a good thing. It's a good thing. What do you guys want to see out of me? Keep me down here. That's fine. I want to be with you guys, right? That's the reality. Is the thing I fear about myself is how I am when I'm with people and how I am when I'm not with people, Am I able to make some kind of impact? I don't know that I am. I don't know that I am. Trump has been very compassionate with Iran. He gave the regime countless opportunities and chances to submit the agreements, nuclear weapons. Facts. They wouldn't pay Donald what he demanded for the footage. Yeah. Thank you. Dux, do you think the next generation is going to be okay? Hell yeah, yeah. I think Gen A, Gen Z, millennials like myself, Gen X, we got nothing to worry about. We stick together. We stick together and realize that a moment is an opportunity for anyone, for someone else maybe sometimes. So, hey, why not? We got to realize the selfishness, greed, not having processes of not selfishness and not greed, not having those processes in place for Someone who's open and asking about it, already curious, someone might say, asking about that, you know. But let's go. What's your take on corporations being legally people in terms of the law? Um, yeah, I think the corporate commitment, they do have responsibilities, right? You have to act as a fiduciary. So that's basically one opportunity. You can't break the law. Corporations are themselves financially liable. So I think the strong argument for them being people is that yeah, an economic sense of the law, because there are economic laws and there's economic senses of the law, then they're entitled to that other side, right? I also think on the square end of that corporations themselves are so defined not by economics in the sense that we talk about people, but they're defined by economics and maybe we want it to be that way, right? We say we want the same basic, tiny, micro supply demand. That's it. That's all we want is price equilibrium. We want to be able to predict sales. Someone's going to go just a step. You're going to have the holographic dunk, 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 different supply and demand charts, different economic charts, tracking different things, tracking your assets into this stuff, man. These mathematicians make all the money at these companies. But you start looking at this and you say, well, this isn't how normal people operate. And this isn't about normal people's political concerns. So why not chop it down, break it down, right? What is it? Well, it's a question. It's just a question. It's posing information and saying, is this the right thing or the right way to do it? I don't know. Hey, what's up, WPS? Good to see you. Many love the cage. Many people live in the cage. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, comfort. Habitation and things like this. I don't know about any of that stuff. You know, humans we're supposed to make sense of our environment and where we are and have a good time with it and like it and all that stuff. And yeah, I do. Being honest, I get it's not yeah, it's a little frustrated sometimes. It's wanting to spend more time with people like me. Um, you know, I don't think anybody wants to play a victim. They don't want their scenario, their situation out there, but just someone to recognize, other people who have lived with or for or become aware of trauma. Why can't we just say something like that? Are you aware of what trauma is? Are you aware? Have you gotten stuck in loops where it's always about society and about power? Have you been in that position about being exploited and taken advantage of? And have you recognized this in other people? Hey, there's masonry, right? You don't have to be a mason. It's just a question, big questions, huge questions. Ask someone. I'm processing bitter dock seeds and leaves right now to sell. Cool. Hey, good luck. Good luck. Are you aware of your debt? I think we take on a lot of debt, right? If we're talking about politics and society, um, you know, I think awareness is just that we're metabolic creatures, right? And so we use our metabolism for good and not for bad, and we take that opportunity to back into something that's positive. We have, hey, LA, we have that's not accurate. Right now we have no one. I don't mean that. We have blocked people in the past, to your point. Um, we have blocked people in the past, but we have 0 people on our block list right now. There's 0 people. The way to improvement is an open forum, not staying in an echo chamber. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, some people don't like ideas. They want more kinetic sort of approaches to things. And yeah, it's absolutely right. Oh, you're in Australia. Cool, Mark Gallagher. Shout out to you. Yeah. let's not live in an echo chamber. Let's live in a place that is open-minded, right? Maybe those forums and those echo chambers become more kinetic, become more meaningful. Can people stand on their speech, stand behind it? Not just standing on their speech, but standing on their speech while they're looking at the bigger picture, right? Are you looking, not to be a cult leader, but do we look at being a person of peace, being of peace, and recognizing that this puts us more capable of talking about the big issues we want to encounter? That's my opinion on it. I don't know anything about it, right? We saw people like Charlie Kirk, where, a lot of people strongly disagreed with his message, but Charlie got out there and without having all the context all at once, he made a huge impact on social media. He supported conservative values. And that also encountered sort of some hate-based and ethnic and racialized speech within the Turning Point organization. So something that happened, Yeah. So maybe judgment or forgiveness and things like this, but recognizing, well, if this is happening, also at the same time, people are going to recognize that this was maybe a bit askew. This was maybe a bit of a skewed message. I don't know if I understand all this stuff, right? It's in and out of my own head. Oh, cool. Congratulations. Yeah. All right. And so I think I'm going to close the stream out on that message. We've been going for an hour, so who knows? Maybe I'll recover. Maybe I'll come on a little later. We'll see. But it's great to see everyone. Thanks so much for the support, tapping that like button. Thanks for the gem gifts, hyping the stream. We have no Discord yet. Maybe should I spin that up? We've got more people coming in. Yeah, start coming up. Cool. Yeah, for folks that we are using the internet every day. Thanks again for hyping the stream. Appreciate it. Hey, thanks WPS. Appreciate it. Yeah, exactly. So for us that are hyping the stream, using the internet each day, maybe a Discord gives us some space and time to reflect and build the Ducks Y community. Glad to see you got out of county jail. Hey, thanks, Mr. Pilot. I appreciate you. I want to send you $1,000. Cool. If you want to send 2 red super chats, that's cool, but I don't ask for money like that. I have a direct donation link on my page. Obviously, $1,000 I would tell you is also a lot of money. If there's some reason that you have excess money and you want to see what it's like to donate $1,000, I'll happily take it and continue working hard to build an audience, to be a positive presence on social media when I can. And continue to keep the message focused on politics. But yeah, we do love red super chats, orange, pinks, all those kinds of things. Let's go, everybody. Let's go. We want the grift. We want the money. And, that's how we talk about some of this stuff. Yeah. And I think it's great. Trump is a globalist puppet. Yeah. I think it's great to see people being successful so money doesn't get in the way of their goals and their problems. And I don't know what's in it for me here in my life. I've tried to draw a little bit of a line here without making it too cumbersome or something to avoid, stuff like that. And I haven't been successful yet thus far. So, yeah. And, I always remember when we look at these issues, sometimes people are cumbersome, big fakers, right? Big fakers, huge fakers. Trump talks about being a president of peace. He's not even taking on the issues right now. He's not being openly excited about the possibility that Oman talks could renormalize sort of how the peace process is going. There's wise people like Bernie Sanders, who is on Face the Nation, guys. For some of the left-leaning folks, this isn't at the expense of the right-leaning folks, but we just see a elected politician showing awareness, not having wealthy donors to get back to, having a popularity in the base, and also having to sort of regulate his speech. I think a great learning experience for Bernie, probably not that it's anything too profound, but seeing what I would say is some sort of you know, a little bit of difficult to understand policy coming from the executive, difficult to manage, difficult to reel in, difficult to make a totality of. So when we see Bernie Sanders and he goes on to Face the Nation, and he wants to talk about renormalizing, making transparent, ending the Iran war with policy, not with weapons. No fight to submission, no things that cost American taxpayers money for something that's unwinnable. None of these things that have to be produce a plus someplace that we don't want it, right? We don't want it. Let me plug my mic in, guys. I'll stay on for a little bit. You guys hopefully still have audio? You guys still have a good enough audio? I'll put, you guys are like aliens, so I'm gonna put the green by you guys. Be nice and fancy, cool. Yeah. So what a great way to go. What a great way to go with Bernie Sanders being able to, stand back up on top of, the mainstream media. He's able to get on these big internet programs, get that message out. Yeah, that you can't solve war. You can fight for peace through policy. It's all doable. David had a house in Hawaii. Cool. That's a cool island. Yeah. It's very neat. Hopefully you enjoyed the time and the space and the safety there. Yeah, trust God. Man, that some of the pain, the anxiety, stuff like that is all solvable too. One way I like to think about this, which is just adult level coping skills, and I'm absolutely, you guys can hear it in my voice, I'm a broken person. I ain't got strong stuff going on with me. But if you guys, going out and being able to externalize something, seeing how it comes back. When we externalize something, sometimes it's hard for us. When we internalize things, sometimes it's also too much or too hard for us. And so managing, negotiating between external and internal, right? This is part of me. This is part of something else. This can bring up a lot of frustration, anger, rage. It can also bring up hope and joy and optimism and things like this. And so, having a little bit of that sense that the world is out to help us, right? The world is here. Our bodies help ourselves, even when we don't see it, even when we don't recognize it. That sense of hope is, to me, sometimes better than a sense of purpose. But I'm not a counselor, so obviously this isn't mental health advice. It's nothing like that. It's just saying, when some people say trust God, I hope you believe that. I hope it brings you strength and peace. And I also hope that, there is for me a sort of a balance with trusting something that's not myself. There's a balance to just working. For me, it's working my butt off, right? Maybe that's why I'm a big pretender. I'm always working my butt off towards something, right? That's why I'm a big pretender. I'm a big fake. I'm a fraud. I'm a phony. I'm always trying to work towards something else. Yeah. Hope is the product of faith. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I like Bernie Sanders. He's got a common sense approach to government and government programs while acknowledging excessive bureaucracy. Man is getting well old and will be missed. Wow. Good things can turn into bad. Yeah, confidence in that social structure, confidence in the nature of things. Platitudes are GAY. I'll be right back. All right, guys, I'm going to set one small goal. Thank you, everybody who's sticking around. My name's, if this is your first time here, my name's Nathan Urduck. I've got coffee in my beard. We're a politics channel. You guys can see I got some books and stuff behind me. We're kind of casual place. Yeah, everybody's welcome here as they are. And that's it. Yeah. And that's it. I'm going to set one super chat goal for, I'm going to hope if there's somebody in the audience that can send an orange super chat, that would be awesome. I'll set a goal. I've got that direct donation link as well, but you know, I know how it goes. If somebody out there wants to be an angel, and there's no pressure, right? Obviously, we all good. We all good, folks. Cursed be the man that trusteth the man. Blessed is the man that trusteth the Lord, and those whose hope the Lord is. Wow. Yeah, WPS is kind of bringing it home for me. Trump is the king of platitudes. Wow. Yeah, you guys are like a powerhouse. I think you guys are a powerhouse, David and WPS, for apologetics without even meaning it. Wow. Wow, folks, let's go with a slam. Bam. Yeah, the power of the Lord, everyone. Yeah, you know, I think that's interesting. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, oh my gosh. Wow. I'm overwhelmed with the compliment. Yeah, some of the long form videos are good as well if you're new here. I haven't made one in a while. I've been a little off my game. You know, I'm just learning on social media. I'm allowed to tell you guys stuff like that, right? In a call center at a restaurant, you don't tell your manager, oh, I'm not feeling that well, right? They say, this guy's a complainer. This guy doesn't want to be here. But on social media, right? Because as long as YouTube will have me, I own the channel. So I'll share one of those videos, and there it's kind of dry stuff, guys, because politics, this is maybe something to get used to. You know, we try to have fun. We try to have a little bit fun. I've got commie potatoes and stuff like this. And yeah, God wants to walk with you. Yeah. My friend Jack Talcott, I call him a friend, but he's talking about walking with God. Wow, what an interesting idea. Atheism, you know, atheists in many moral systems, when we choose to be atheist towards questions or choose to walk with God, questions about, do we take a spiritual or a rational approach? That's a great question. That's a great debate topic or a discussion to have with some people. I didn't vote for Trump. I didn't vote for Trump in 2016. I disagree with a lot of his politics. I disagree. And I'll be honest, as sort of a dry, boring person, it's difficult for me to understand a lot of the MAGA work. I've got the book behind me too, brother, right? I'm not trying to get buddy or cuddle up with you, but I've got the Great Again book. I've read it. Man, you know, it's tough for me to understand. You know, Zettelbro says the other guys have a lot in common because they both love to hang flags all over the place. Wow. Yeah. We need to make America this way again. Okay. When you have nothing, you are ready. Okay. Oh my gosh. Wow. I'll let WPS read that one out. I went ahead and hit that love button. Thank you for a huge celebration for the goal. Thank you so much. Really, from I would say from the bottom of my heart, as much as I can, you know, get down there. I appreciate it. This is like, it's like huge, right? So thank you. But I will read it. I will read it. I'll let WPS read it again, and you guys. But thank you. Hit the goal on the channel. The message says, "Withhold not good from them, to whom it is due, when it is the power of thine hand to do it." Wow. Wow. And so this is the powerhouse. This is from one of the powerhouses asking us to place some trust in the Lord. So, yeah, I'll try to keep the money thoughts, the money talk out of it. And there we go. Thank you so much. I worked in a Morgan college. Wow. I don't know how you withheld or stood up to something like that. That's wild. Life is a spiritual journey. Yeah. Yeah. When our tools are about connecting with people and we can recognize also that tools or otherness, are things that we can study and learn about. We can learn about these things. We know that we have a human nature, some bias to be self-interested. I think it's great. Why isn't altruism like an ultimate goal people can have? It could be, right? Altruism as the goal. Humans aren't not ordinarily altruistic. We are in some circumstances, right? We don't hunt infinitely, right? We create tolerance for beings amongst ourselves, right? We try to deprive ourselves of language that otherizes, that is racial or ethnic in nature. It's about people's looks or about the clothes they can afford, about how they show up online. Yeah. One guy was a bank robber. Wow. Yeah, so that's real stuff. Wow. Cool. Yeah, wow. Okay. I understand this. We're going to post our art series, Ducks. The aesthetic. Yeah. So what a fun thing to do. I'm going to go ahead and reset the goal. Don't we reset the goal? Not trying to steal money, right? You guys, I would urge you guys, anyone that's taken out a bad credit card, you guys know when I set these goals, I want to get more people involved in donating to the channel, building an audience that can support this financially a little bit. And it's not every day, it's not everything, but today on Sunday, I guess I'm collecting receipts a little bit. We're trying to. So I'm going to put up that 5 super chat goal. And I appreciate you guys all so much. Thank you. It's not like somebody has a duty or an obligation to pitch in. I'm very grateful. I'm going to keep doing my work. I'm going to keep trying to hopefully influence, the channel in a positive way. Ducks, do I have a favorite movie? What did I say? I said the Jason Bourne movies the other day. I like the spy thrillers. What a great way. Spy thrillers. Yeah, very cool. Today is Monday in Japan. It's 9:40 a.m. Oh, wow. Wow, you've got Monday. I like Greenland. I haven't been to any of those places. I've been to Canada, France, Italy, and of course the US, and I've been to Mexico. I've been to Mexico, Caribbean islands, lots of places in the US. I've been to Orlando, Florida. Been up to Northern California, lots of Southern California, LA, Los Angeles, no New York City ever. Yeah. They're making a new Bourne movie, Ducks. Oh, wow. I'll have to watch it. Yeah. I like the one with Jeremy Renner, and I like the original movies too. I like the ones that I've seen so I don't get scared or unexpectedly scared at some of the stuff that happens in those films. Yeah. Gerard Butler movie. Okay. Come to Chicago, Ducks. Okay. This guy's a robot. Hey, get out of here with that. Yeah. I'm trying not to be. I bore my soul just a little bit ago, so, it is what it is. Yeah. Let's go back. All men are, this is from WPS. All men are judged as sinners. There is none righteous. No, not one. Wow. That speaks to my sense of absurdism in Buddhism, and absurdism and atheism and philosophy. If no men can be judged as righteous, not one, then we can ask, well, what is it about too, right? There must be, because we are in our human forms. If we choose to be atheist about a question or be empirical, use empiricism in these cases, there's still this question about what virtue ethics and things like that are like or about. And then this still leaves for people in the chat that are Christians or Muslims, Jews, to be spiritual about, faith-based answers to that question. Hey, what's going on? Hey, I ain't trying to be too much like a robot. Yeah, banana. Yeah, yeah. My left foot says they're not human. Oh, wow. Yeah. Wow. Let me try to reset. I got all kinds of problems and challenges, and yeah, shout out to the bananas. Yeah, I love the super stickers on YouTube and stuff too. They don't count towards the goal, but what are you gonna do, folks? We ain't doing that. Yeah. Jesus is God, proved it by love. Well, okay, so Jesus is God as in he led a human life and still accomplished extraordinary deeds. So one sense of this argument, one sense of this argument is that Jesus is a being and he lived and did these deeds, and these deeds can't be explained by human attributes. Things like suffering, culturally relative traits of religion, things that aren't true religion can be explained by humanness. And so if somebody accomplishes things and has forces in their lives guiding them that are not of these things, then this should, some people would say, reify or instantiate an example of religion, of true religion, true Christianity. And on the other side, someone that chooses to be atheist about these things can also argue, well, human nature is that of art, creation, and other things. And so we can observe the same picture, many humans who accomplish extraordinary deeds, and say these things have to have an explanation that we just don't ordinarily think about as ourselves, right? So an accusation that this argument, it can be accused of being driven a little bit too much by the ego. If I was being a Buddhist atheist trying to take this argument on, I might bring up that point at some point. My left foot says I'm a banana. Congratulations. My great-grandmother, 9Xs, is Penelope Stout. Cool. Wow, that's an old person. So are we here to hear the good word of God? Are we here to argue, debate a little bit? What are we here to do? What would we be here to do? I'd bring back up the Iran conflict, I guess. No. Bring back up nonsenses of absurdity. I know what I was going to do. Chart the stars. Yeah. I hope this came up recently. I hope I'm not using escapism to an actual message. But when I was talking to, again, as someone who's a Buddhist atheist, just doing myself, talking to myself, it came up this idea of unification, again, walking with God or is being outside the kingdom of God. What this means when we're talking about things like social values. For me, it's always a little stronger to think of empirical, um, and research-based sort of alternatives, and trying to promote these. Right, I think these are also conservative values. I'll tell you guys, my alt ego is Evo Saved. I've done apologetics and stuff with friends for fun, and Evo Saved talks about the living God, the Word of God, and things like this. Talks about all these kinds of things, and so. Evo Saved would tell you, if I could bring him back on, that yeah, conservative values are just a result of not seeing anything fall into the political space outside of God's kingdom. But that also limits conservatism. It can't be about being staunch dictators about the border and things like this, right? You're creating the same sort of human aspect of politics. Evo Saved would tell you this. Conservative values cannot, in a Christian sense, be about these materialistic and strategic things that humans want them to be. It's not a liberation theology. What are you liberating from? You're liberating once again from politics. You're not talking about those who's had the worst injustice. You're not talking about the externalities of a society. You're not talking about justice. If you talk about justice and you talk about God's justice, they would be the same thing. In an atheist sense, if you talk about just justice, well, then you're still just talking about justice. You're talking about the same people. So I don't understand these divisions, these nationalized divisions. I don't understand any of these problems when we're saying, well, from A to B, there's going to be all kinds of different people, but from A to B, these people all want the same types of things at the end of it. You want to hear the stories that you don't hear. There's something missing. John the Baptist ate locust and raw honey wandering in the desert. Hey, Robbie, yeah. John the Baptist, what did he recognize in Jesus Christ, right, early on into his life? Was he fulfilling a prophecy? Was this a human supernatural experience? These are questions that both apologists as well as people doing counter apologetics closer to myself on the Ducks Y channel, when we do that kind of thing, would both be interested in the nature of that relationship. I realize that. What is truth? Religion is caring for widows and orphans. Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Among men, no man was greater than John the Baptist. Yeah. John was cousin to Jesus. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, we should be aware of our own failures and immaturity and in immaturity, our own failures towards those suffering in our lives, that we could support, right? What a drastic consequence, though. I have to observe you suffering. This is one of the reasons why I just don't like, for me, the religious speech gets to be too much, because I get it. I do kind of get it. But yeah. Yeah. John was cousin to Jesus. John also baptized Jesus. Amen. Yeah. Different sorts of relationships brought up in different books. And so, yeah, analyzed as literature or analyzed as the relationship and supernatural context, I think are both interesting conversations. Neither one of them intrinsically leads us further away from what it is that we're talking about or dealing with. It doesn't lead us away from a sense of opposition. Why is America so far behind, Duck? I don't know. My music, again, one of the amazing mods on the channel, thank you for all the support and the time, again, that you spent here, is, in all fairness, conservative values are often much more left globally than in the USA. In Canada, for instance, healthcare, pro-choice, and gay marriage are part of the conservative platform message. Yeah. 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 Sectarian politics is something that comes to mind for me. Ideology. it's very strange to see social media. I think of it as strange, but I think of it as also worthy of discussion, thinking about the political processes that are impacted when we see ideology either from very strong conservative Christian voting bases in the United States or from people that have gone pretty far left, seeing the nature of these choices and values and recognizing ourselves in the other, recognizing otherness that exists outside of what we prescribe. Wow, what an ambition, what a vision. Isn't that all we want? Isn't that all we want to achieve? Yeah, we want insistence on some of this stuff. Boy, I do. I'll tell you guys that. Yeah, I've got money goals up. I wouldn't let money get in the way of that, right? I'd turn that down 10 times out of 10, I guess. But here's how dishonest I am. I go 90 minutes on this live stream thinking about the audience, thinking about whatever. Hey, what's going on, Living Dead Girl? Great to see you. Welcome. Yeah, we chillin'. Rush Limbaugh talk. Oh man. Affluentenza. Yeah. Wow. Too much money. God saved my life more times than I can say from a young boy to a grown man. Yeah, shout out to you guys. Yeah, your guys' testimony. Sometimes there's people in chat that are interested in reading that stuff, interested in have that conversation here, guys. This is why we don't ban stuff. Because testimony is part of philosophy, right? It's just, when testimony becomes not philosophical or it seems contra-social without a relationship to social, this is different than being anti-social, of course, right? We don't care. We don't know. So this is that's a big part of what we do here on the channel. I missed your speech about religion. I came here because of your wound, but I didn't understand. Yeah. Hey, I'm sorry, guys. I've been sharing some vulnerability. I've been obviously a little distraught on stream. I don't talk about my personal life or anything like that here. Everybody's, I tell you guys as a joke, hey, this guy's got personal problems, right? This guy's got personal problems. Yeah. So I call it an injury, That's why I beg for money, right? Beg for money. I'm begging for work and stuff like this. I'm a beggar on the internet, people told me. Okay, hey, that's great. That's great. Yeah, a couple people, whatever. I lump it in with my sob story. Just people on the channel who've supported this. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Can you please greet my friend and wish blessings upon him? He got and is still in the hospital now. Hey, C, I hope you get well soon, right? Free, from the hospital. C, honestly, anyone who's been a victim of violence, something traumatic, there's the physical and the mental injury of it. And so hopefully your friend is strong and is able to recover and also recognizes that. Yeah. Everyone chooses their destiny. Yeah. Don't worry about opinions. The economy is messed up. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Something that's always stronger. Someone was talking about, this is weird. I always think about, because I've been to streams and I've been that person as well, to be fully honest, who's begged for money on the internet. And I do appreciate it. But I've been to streams where it's the same people having the same burden. And I'm not trying to put myself out. I'm the person who says I'm not going to turn down good money. But it's always, when we think about peacefulness as a process and stuff like this, and giving ourselves over to not have a lack of will, perhaps I'm learning and growing as I'm talking to you, a will towards about something. An example of this is I want to work at a restaurant and be the best server ever. I want to have a nice hybrid car or something where I can be comfortable and drive to work. This is my goal. For me, I want to be comfortable coming online, talking about peace, talking about politics, engaging with you guys. Hopefully some of you guys connecting on a deeper level. Maybe this is a way to actually avoid wasting time on just always small talk, being able to have impactful conversations, and also waste an afternoon sometimes, whatever. Hey, I've been through it. I've done that, and here I am. Right? Here I am, Lord, right? This is what my Christian apologist Evo Saved would say. The living God just demands you ask one thing. It says, hey, here I am, Lord. And for my atheist friends, my great atheist friends here on the channel, it's not the self-help stuff or whatever it is, right? I'm a Barnes and Noble section. Could you imagine? Yeah, I'm a published author. This guy, no way. But yeah, we're all here. And we say, yeah, sometimes people can bite off a big problem. Sometimes it's not, right? Sometimes we find different ways to do the hard work, and sometimes we don't. And there's nothing wrong with either of those things. I appreciate someone who can hold a good conversation, essentially with an audience and not insane. Yeah. Hello, my name is Vlad from Russia. Hey, what do you think? Hey, what's up? How's it going? What do you think? God loves you. Hey, great to see you, Vlad. I think if there is a God, then hopefully that God can only be loving. Right? So, yeah. I don't know. I've blocked people in the past. I don't know why I have, but yeah. Whoops. I'm not blocking anyone right now. Yeah, we're just here and this is it. So I'm good. Yeah, I'm doing good. Oh, David says they lived on a friend's couch. Wow. Yeah. Yeah, in the US, you said you had a house in Hawaii and you're in Japan now. I've heard Japan, Tokyo especially, is a very expensive city to live in. And this always forces different types of friendships and relationships in terms of, nothing too consequential, but what a gear to have. Hey, what's going on, Phoenix Skater? Good to see you. Yeah, nice to see you. Osaka, yeah. Nice trim. Hey, thanks. Yeah, I feel like I'm getting my old guy hair coming in pretty soon. Being a person of our word, this is something. Where are you from? I'm from Arizona in the Southwest United States. And yeah, it's a nice state here. It's to me, it's it's hot in the summer, cool in the winter. And so, yeah, it's good. It's good here. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I'm very lucky. I've got a nice little space and that's it. Yeah. Yeah. So. Yeah, I think, one of the phrases that I heard Evo Saved would say, instead of building a door or a fence, you build a longer table. Meaning opening our hearts to charity, opening our hearts to the authentic problem, realizing these are two different things, realizing that, it's a challenge sometimes to build those relationships towards charity and dignity for people that haven't been granted that by society, where dignity hasn't been granted and where it stems from an injustice in the first place. This is where a longer table is required. And we also can't be, deceiving ourselves about where that actually comes from. You guys know where that comes from, don't you? I think you do. You guys know exactly where it comes from. Comes from this. What do you guys think? Comes from that? Comes from this? No. Comes from this? What do we think? We'll leave this one on. Yeah, we're desynced on the audio, but hopefully you guys have good audio on your side. The spiritual clock is clicking down fast, so the world is getting desperate. Wow. Is that right? Um, here we go. This time it feels like we're living in a sci-fi movie. End of the world. Ooh, end of the world, man. Whoa, gnarly. This time it feels like we're living in a sci-fi movie. End of the world. Build back better. Yeah, build back better. Let's do it. Big beautiful Bill is the devil. Wow. Wow. Like that. Dun 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 dun. Cool, that was fun. That was a little bit of fun. Live stream war crimes. Yeah, it's the name of the stream, guys. Can we live stream the war better? And we had this poll up earlier. It's pretty good. I forgot the results. I wonder if I can. But we had like 70 people vote that, and a lot of people said, yeah, we actually can. And there's actually a reason. I'm curious what people think if they're, a little educated on politics. Is there a reason why, from the logic of the president, maybe this is called being good faith and charitable? I'm not a Trump supporter, but we have to grant that there is a position that he holds, that he rests his position on the war on. I don't know what it is. It's hard to find. Nice to meet you, Vlad. Yeah, have a good sleep, and thank you. Thank you so much. But can't we, can we actually be transparent about a war that doesn't have a justification in the first place? Jim Carrey said he thought when he made millions, he'd be happy. Not even close. We got Neva under pressure, right? How you doing? Good to see you, Neva under pressure. Thank you so much. Thanks for the hundo. Thanks for the stream hype. Appreciate you. Appreciate it. Do you think the need to maintain the petroleum dollar is our primary motivation in Iran right now, or is there more Israeli motivated, or is it something else? I'd like to know your opinion on that. I'd like to know what you think and where that starts, and that type of conversation would be interesting to see. And yeah. And so maybe the primary motivation I don't think is petrodollars. I think the primary motivation is just control and throughput. Right, we're seeing China surpassing the U.S. in energy consumption. There's many metrics where you can look at China's economically efficient use of energy, and yeah, this is maybe a problem too. If you're efficient at spending energy, you do very well. There's very modern states, right? Very modern states like Moscow, right? And when we say that, well, Moscow may be efficient at spending energy as well. However, when you look at the rest of Russia, you look at geopolitical pressures, and you look at perhaps some of the corruption and oligarchic or state-run leadership, broad reach of political issues, maybe sometimes difficult to see a peaceful or pathway towards peaceful resolutions. We accuse each other of stuff like this and take it very seriously. But you can say that, again, this is an example of artificial differences. Artificial differences, no similarity. Hey, Rick, cornering global economy. Yeah, I wish not. I wish not. Yeah, I don't think I just don't think in those terms. It's helpful for me to see people's Right? Don't yeah, I never tell people to put their feelings or emotions or sentiments on the internet. You don't have to. We can just talk about the topic. You guys can introduce topics in chat, but yeah, I don't think in those terms, and I know that's problematic. I'm scared and small a little bit socially, right? But I'm not trying to be a victim. I'm just saying I don't. If I'm supposed to be mad at something, somebody has to tell me, and then I'll do it. I'll tell people, I tell people in ways I don't recognize that I'm supposed to be angry at someone or upset at someone or upset towards something. Yeah, big timeline. You're an introvert. Cool. Yeah, shout out to you. Shout out. Shout out. I teach English in Japan for fun, but it's very stressful. It's very stressful. Oh, cool. That's awesome. Yeah, I hope it's a good earning. I hope it's rewarding work as well. And yeah, large group. Cool. Cool. Yeah. Calls us to be soldiers here in this life. Wow, yeah, I have a difficulty again as a Buddhist atheist. I know this sounds annoying, but it's probably, one way to rummage around the philosophy is wondering how often and when and why I compete and for what reason. You're 62? Wow. Awesome. That's congratulations. I'm sorry if I've been not reading your message as someone who's wiser than me and has more experience than me, and yeah, and all that kind of stuff uh, here for some reason. Um, I think oil's lobbied hard politically in an Iran conflict is to one, keep the dollar from debasing, yeah, and maintain control and influence over where it goes, to keep the military complex spending, to keep the military complex spending, right? Yeah, that's kind of like a visionary aspect, I think, of America First politics. Is there are these nationalist concerns about dollars and things like this, and saying that the Iran war, Mersheimer came out and said he wasn't for it. So saying, well, the Iran war is not where you do most of this stuff. This is going to be losing. It's going to be losing. Do you get it? It's losing. I don't get it. I don't totally understand it, but yeah, I can be honest here on my small social media channel where the mainstream media is not even going to admit they don't understand it. They're going to lie, or they're going to use coded language and talk about it. I think at the core, the alliance to the Saudi oil is the foundation of the war. Wow. Yeah, massive producer, happy to echo isolationist values in some sense, and promote actual peaceable forms of economic. And yeah, and so strengthening that bond or relationship, that has nothing to do though with the Abraham Accords. It's a little too high up. I don't think it's competitive or spy games or things like that, but I love your interpretation. Thank you, Hey Allah. Yeah, thank you. Gaza has massive oil lines directly under the sea near the shore. I told God just before I hit, I was ready to see him. Wow. I hope you're well. I hope you learned from that experience as well. Wow, the things we do, money gets in the way. Wow, the things we do. To that person, I hope that person, at that time felt the world loved them for their sacrifice as well as just for who they are, right? I hope the world told that person that. Um, you know, that's true about Gaza Oil. I didn't know that. It's the liberal buzzwords final boss. Um, it's in a withdrawn library book I got locally. Liberal buzzwords, yeah. Statism. What is statism about? Statism. What is statism about? Liberalism, individualism that doesn't reflect others and ourselves, that forgets that the basis of liberalism is about human nature. It's about decision making, it's about natural organization humans make, and it's also about then all the problems that are created for others during that process. For what reason? You know? It is because the mind is powerful, the mind is focused, the mind can do amazing good things, it can turn bad to good. There's a moral reason we use liberal buzzwords, I think, as well. It's because those buzzwords, I think, when they form, we've seen it. When we've seen peace emerge in complexity. That's worth something. That's valuable to see peace and complexity, and to just imagine that the games that are played here on a smaller scale, a micro scale, supervenes on these competitive psychological or material structures that you can observe in constructivism and social theory, that reason to be positive and optimistic, and a reason to be that person, a reason to be successful as that person would be to be able to detach a lot of the competitive forces into competitive forces that exist and are meant to be temporary, to speak to the now, to turn the bad to the good, to speak to the now, to be less insistent on things, to be less insistent on things. They keep withdrawing certain books since 24. It's in a withdrawn library book I got locally. Wow. You guys are being so generous with me, sharing your wisdoms and stories. And I'm sorry if I'm using or exploiting you guys. I don't want to do that here. I want this to be a channel that's inclusive and open, and at least recognize that, I'm reading your comments a little bit internalized in my own head right now and stuff like that. Yeah, coming out in my best garb, and then, hey, that's what that is, right? That's the best garb. Cool. I found an evening rose taller than me. Wow. Wow. David Bagley says God allows this life to be hard for a good reason. Hey, what's going on this sunset? Yeah, Trump. They say Trump all the way. Um, Eternity matters more than this temporary life. Wow. Have a good day, y'all. Hey, see you, Sunset Boulevard 98. Have a good day. Take care. Take care. Take care. Izumasono Osaka. Cool. Hey, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. What would I choose? I love loot. High humidity. What would I choose? In the, I think I ask you back here, right? I ask you back. Can you? And I know you're going through Turkish translation. Google Translate is working. Um, what would you mean? What would I choose between what options? I'm making a choice. I'm making a choice. So, um, so yeah, I think fungible assets like precious metals, where a gram of gold, pure gold, is the same as any other gram of pure gold. I think we strive towards normalization of these assets, and so yeah, some people believe the hype. I don't comment that much on it because I believe, while I do understand people are taking care of their families, just like I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to take care of myself. I'm trying to make sure I've got what I need. I'm very grateful for generous gifts and things like that. Very grateful when I see you guys supporting other streamers, other issues, causes, being charitable and stuff. Um, yeah, but pertaining to gold and silver, the reason I abstain is a lot of it seems like speculation, and not just speculation. It seems like that gold rush thing, right? It seems like another opportunity to put wealth and greed over dignity, over people who need the help. And so we should focus on a strong economy. We should also focus, right? Why would we focus on this issue? I don't know if it's a priority for me as much as I'm attempting to be a better person. I'm attempting to be a good person, a better person, and things like that. You know, I definitely define my religion as love. If people love each other, everything becomes wonderful. Corruptible things such as gold and silver. Um, Thank you guys for voting on the poll. We've got a poll up if you guys are new to the channel. What values do conservatives and Christians share with others? Love is at 62%, tolerance and acceptance is at 25%, being of a simple and understanding mind, right? This isn't meant to be derogatory. It's meant to say that being able to keep things simple and understanding and compassionate is sometimes a fruitful way to have discussions. It's a way humans communicate, and it's a way we achieve peaceableness. It's a way we achieve peaceableness. Hey, Fire Away, great to see you. Fiat currency is money laundering. Yeah. I think both of the long term have excellent theses to continue to go up in value. Cool. Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Ditch the monetary system, bring back barter and trade. Oh, I see the context now. Corruptible things such as gold and silver. Hayala says, I define my religion as love. If people love each other, everything becomes wonderful. Yeah. So, yeah, with the context of Hayala, and you're talking about Islam defined as love, yeah, that's a value we absolutely share. I've loved the time I've spent on Dawa panels. I've been invited to other Dawa channels, asked to speak. I've been on Muslim Lantern's channel. He's got a huge audience. So I've done Dawa, counter Dawa, in front of thousands of people, got crushed, all that kinds of fun stuff, so that stuff's fun. Yeah, guys, I've been featured on some debate channels which have 15,000 plus subscribers. I'm a big deal on the internet. I made it big time. That's what we did here. I prefer cash, easier to determine how many carrots I need to trade for a donkey. Yeah, definitely. Good shout out. Good call. In the otherness and sameness category, let me see if I can find this. I'll post one of my recent Substack blogs just in the chat in case anyone likes reading blogs. If you guys are blogs, thanks so much. Pretty High is actually the last subscriber. How many carrots I need to trade for a donkey? Yeah, good one. Turbo is one of the other subscribers. Very, very smart person. So if any of y'all bump into Turbo, yeah, very, very great person to know and stuff like this. The entire government is owned. Turn off the TV. Data centers, Skynet, no more cash. Yeah. Yeah. So this was a cool blog. This one was called, whoops, Something Corrupted Happened. I understand. But I'll post the Fear and Clothing in Las Vegas blog. This is called Fear and Clothing. Again, if you guys like blog posts, hopefully it linked out. It's just a short blog that talks about success stories. Again, when we're finding commonalities, the aesthetic of art, writing, poetry can be a cool thing. Thinking about being additive, things like that. Thinking about all types of interesting topics, and seeing how icons like whether it's Paris Hilton or Shaquille O'Neal have created stories that are really, really endearing, that make their way to when we talk about like Muscat in Oman and Tehran conducting policies that are about the whole of the nation, about issues that are far-reaching, that expand, that are difficult to predict. We also see icons in the United States where we can find a moral draw, perhaps a moral push, and also not be too obsessive and insistent about something we don't understand. I think day trading is gambling, not investing. Oh, cool. Hey, medieval method. Yeah, keep that in your medieval corporation and with your medieval lordship, please. No offense. Yes, they are buying a bunch of gold, but most importantly, all foreign governments are massively dumping US government debt via bonds. Oh, wow. I got to read this. Matthew says this. This is from Matthew in chat. Yes, they are buying a bunch of gold, but most importantly, foreign governments are massively dumping US debt. So bonds, which is raising rates, it's causing national debt to spiral. Yeah. And also remember that debts are finance tools. So debt's just an asset that companies trade as well. It's an asset that's in our retirement accounts. And so, yeah, having the liberal US economy trusted alongside many of our allies that in the present moment stand with the United States, despite the president's difficult to understand actions. And, there's people that they insist on saying something like, there's nothing beyond forgiveness. There are story arcs where people use this language that something's unforgivable or deserving of retribution, but nothing is like this. So, I think being of peace and peacefulness is also being able to swim through that room, being able to take stuff like that on and consider what it would be like to find a solution that works for people, that makes people happy, that drives happiness for humans and for other beings like us. Patriots are asleep. Have a good day, says Fireway. Hey, bye, Fireway. Thank you. US is being hollowed out. Okay. Duck, this is not very true. Foreign countries do not want US treasuries. Okay. Yeah, we saw. So Silicon Valley Bank was one of the big examples of. It was 10-year Treasury bonds, I think. 10-year Treasury bonds. The shorter the term length, the more risk these bonds carry. So 30-year Treasury bonds are supposedly the safest. They are the safest, right? You can say that confidently. But like the 10-year bonds, Silicon Valley Bank had all these illiquid assets that they couldn't sell, and they were holding on to them as like an interest-producing cash alternative. And they just figured a safe asset like a 10-year bond would always be easy to sell. And at that time, for some reason, it wasn't. And so saying that, well, we're seeing US companies be the sort of experiment of stockpiling US debt instruments as part of a financial strategy, that's something that's probably still true today. I think there's lots of companies that are looking at what their expense and outlay will be in the change because of artificial intelligence, because of increasing global competition, and are saying, well, we have to examine, the best debt instruments. US debt is still probably pretty good in the present moment, even though we're seeing changes and upsetting sort of a decoupling of international mechanisms, hopefully not leading towards another industrial scale war. That would be horrifying, very scary. Derivative debt is 2.5 quadrillion. Wow, we are in a massive bubble. Wow. Can I share the blog link later? Yeah, here's just the parent link to the Substack. There you guys go. Right, here we go. Oh, wow. Yeah. The yen is down. Wow. Yeah, you guys know more than me about all that kind of stuff. I don't know what I'm doing or talking about there. Yeah. Zero production, global slowdown. Tell me all about it. Tell me more about it, man. Okay. All right. I'm gonna go ahead and sign off. Thank you guys for the support on the stream. If you guys want to like or subscribe, I appreciate all you guys. Thanks for helping us hit 33 likes. We're a small channel. We'll come back. We'll do more stuff like this. And until then, again, thank you guys. I appreciate you guys all. Yeah, and thank you guys.